The representatives-elect and their guests will please remain standing and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. As directed by law, the Clerk of the House has prepared the official roll of the representatives-elect. Certificates of election covering 435 seats in the 119th Congress have been received by the Clerk of the House. The names of those persons whose credentials show that they were regularly elected as representatives in accord with the laws of their respective states or of the United States will be called. The representatives-elect will record their presence by electronic device, and their names will be reported in alphabetical order by state, beginning with the state of Alabama, to determine whether a quorum is present. Representatives-elect will have a minimum of 15 minutes to record their presence by electronic device. Representatives-elect who have not obtained their voting card may do so now in the speaker's lobby. Are there additional representatives-elect in the chamber who wish to record their presence? If not, all time has expired. 433 representatives-elect have recorded their presence. A quorum is present. Credentials, regular in form, have been received showing the election of the Honorable Pablo Jose Hernandez Rivera as Resident Commissioner from the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico for a term of 4 years beginning January 3rd, 2025. The Honorable Eleanor Holmes Norton as Delegate from the District of Columbia. The Honorable James C. Moylan as Delegate from Guam. The Honorable Stacy E. Plaskett as Delegate from the Virgin Islands. The Honorable Amua Amada Coleman Radawagan as Delegate from American Samoa, and the Honorable Kimberlyn King Hines as Delegate from the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. The clerk is in receipt of a letter from the Honorable Matt Gaetz of the state of Florida, indicating that he will not serve in the House in the 119th Congress. Without objection, the letters relating to his resignation will be printed in the record. Pursuant to law and precedent, the next order of business is the election of the Speaker of the House of Representatives for the 119th Congress. Nominations are now in order. The clerk recognizes the gentlewoman from Michigan, Mrs. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, and thank you, colleagues. Mr. Clerk, as the chair of the Republican Conference, I am directed by the vote of that conference to present for election to the office of the Speaker of the House of Representatives for the 119th Congress the name of the Honorable Mike Johnson, a representative from the state of Louisiana. Welcome, everybody. I am optimistic about our future. On November 5th, the American people gave us a great opportunity to get America back on the right track. They gave us an opportunity to get back to normal and to get back to the real issues that the country faces right now. People want the opportunity to take care of their families. They simply want to provide for their children and give them a prosperous future. And ladies and gentlemen, we have the opportunity today to do just that. We have an opportunity to take our country back. With Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Majority Leader John Thune, and President Donald J. Trump in charge, we have the opportunity to put America first again. We have an opportunity to do something about crime. We have an opportunity to do something about the border. And we have an opportunity to take care of our veterans. We, and every single member in this chamber, and those of you watching at home and on TV, should be looking forward, knowing that America will be respected again. Our country is the last bastion of hope. If we fail, then who? This is why we are focused on the issues that the majority of Americans care about: God, family, country faith, freedom, and traditional American values. And we should be making it easier for people to achieve the American dream. Over 14 months ago, Mike Johnson took on a daunting task. No speaker is perfect, and no one will ever be. However, achieving perfection requires incremental gains and hard decisions along the way. None of us will get exactly what we want. The fundamental collective goal of this body is to make progress for the American people in which we represent. And we have done just that under Mike's leadership. We should be celebrating and building upon his efforts, our efforts. Mike has remained the same kind and caring person as he was before he assumed this role. He's an honest broker. He shows you his true beliefs at face value. He is steadfast in his values of faith, family, and love of this country. He knows our brightest days are still ahead of us, and I do too. I am hopeful for the next Congress. I am optimistic that we will focus on those issues that people truly care about. I know Mike will be an integral part of this country's comeback. He will lead us through another successful Republican majority. As chairwoman of the Unified House Republican Conference, I can say proudly that we are ready to govern. It is my honor to present our conference's nominee for the Speaker of the People's House, the Honorable Mike Johnson from the state of Louisiana. Do I move?
The clerk now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I've had a little bit of practice, and clearly my colleagues took notice. I rise to place a name in nomination, but first, I want to acknowledge my colleague from Michigan for her heartfelt and personal nominating speech. As someone who's given a few of these, I can say you served your conference well, Representative McLean. But, Mr. Clerk, today I rise on behalf of the governing majority of the House of Representatives. The American people have sent a strong message that they want their elected leaders working together to tackle the affordability crisis. There is only one leader in this chamber with a track record of compromise, conviction, and compassion. There is only one leader who understands the needs of the working people and has lived the American dream himself and is committed to ensuring its promise for future generations. There is only one leader who knows how to negotiate a bipartisan deal and then stick to that deal. House Democrats are united behind the most powerful legislative leader in this chamber, Hakeem Jeffries of Brooklyn. House Democrats, under the leadership of Hakeem Jeffries, are committed to bipartisanship and common sense solutions to America's most pressing challenges. In the face of chaos and dysfunction over the last 2 years, our caucus has kept the government funded, kept our allies protected, and the economy secured from the catastrophic default. In the 119th Congress, we will work with the incoming administration to make life better, safer, and more affordable for working families. And the incoming administration must also recognize that while my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are divided, and while compromise remains a dirty word for so many, Congress won't be able to keep the lights on, let alone pass anything of substance, without the buy-in and blessing of House Democrats and Hakeem Jeffries. Make no mistake, Democrats want to bring down the cost of living, build more housing, and lower the cost of everyday items like food, medicine, and childcare. Even as the extreme rhetoric rises in this chamber and in the public square, we will not stop advocating for the policies that do the most good for the most people. Because of Hakeem's leadership, we will never abandon our values or sacrifice our bedrock principles of freedom and democracy. When America's enemies abroad threatened our democratic ally, Ukraine, when terrorists attacked our strongest ally, Israel, it was Hakeem Jeffries and House Democrats who delivered the votes and stood tall for America's national security. When the least, the lost, and the left behind were threatened with devastating cuts, Hakeem Jeffries stood with America's mothers, children, and veterans. When the incoming administration wanted to raise the debt limit by trillions of dollars in order to finance tax cuts for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected, leaving middle-class families to pay for the bill and leaving them high and dry, Hakeem Jeffries didn't just say no, he said, That's why there is only one true candidate today for Speaker. So, Mr. Clerk, I am honored to rise today at the direction of the House Democratic Caucus to place into nomination for election to the position of Speaker of the House of Representatives, the pride of Brooklyn, the gentleman from New York, Hakeem Jeffries.
The names of the Honorable Mike Johnson, a representative-elect from the state of Louisiana, and the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries, a representative-elect from the state of New York, have been placed in nomination. Are there further nominations? There being no further nominations, the clerk appoints the following tellers. The gentlewoman from North Carolina, Ms. Fox. The gentleman from New York, Mr. Morelli. The gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Stile. And the gentlewoman from California, Mrs. Torres. The tellers will come forward and take their seats at the desk in front of the Speaker's rostrum. The roll now will be called, and those responding to their names will indicate by surname the nominee of their choosing. The reading clerk will now call the roll.
Adams. Jeffries. Adderholt. Johnson. Aguilar. Jeffries. Alford. Johnson. Allen. Johnson. Amo. Jeffries. Amode of Nevada. Johnson. Ansari. Jeffries. Arrington. Johnson. Auchincloss. Jeffries. Babin. Johnson. Bacon. Johnson. Baird. Johnson. Balderson. Johnson. Ballant. Jeffries. Barr. Johnson. Beragan. Jeffries. Barrett. Barrett. Baumgartner. Barrett Johnson. Barrett Johnson. Baumgartner. Johnson. Bean of Florida. Johnson. Beatty.
Hakeem.
Jeffries. Begich. Johnson. Bell. Jeffries. Bentz. Johnson. Barra. Jeffries. Bergman. Johnson. Beyer. Jeffries. Bice. Johnson. Biggs of Arizona. Biggs of Arizona. Johnson. Bilirakis. Johnson. Bishop. Jeffries. Bobert. Johnson. Bonamici. Jeffries. Bost. Johnson. Boyle of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Burkeen. Johnson. Bresnahan. Johnson. Brown. Jeffries. Brownlee. Jeffries. Buchanan. Johnson. Budzinski. Jeffries. Burchett. Johnson. Burleson. Johnson. Bynum. Jeffries. Calvert. Johnson. Kamek. Johnson. Carbajal. Jeffries. Carey. Johnson. Carson. Carson. Carter of Georgia.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Carter of Louisiana.
Hakeem. Jeffries.
Jeffries. Carter of Texas. Johnson. Kassar.
Jeffries.
Jeffries. Case. Jeffries. Caston. Jeffries. Castor of Florida. Jeffries. Castro of Texas. Jeffries. Shifferless McCormick. Jeffries. Chu. Jeffries. Siscomani.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Cisneros. Jeffries. Clark of Massachusetts. Jeffries. Clark of New York. Jeffries. Cleaver. Jeffries. Klein. Johnson. Cloud. Cloud. Clyburn. Jeffries. Clyde. Clyde. Cohen. Jeffries. Cole. Johnson. Collins. Johnson. Comer. Johnson. Conaway. Jeffries. Connolly. Jeffries. Correa. Jeffries. Costa. Jeffries. Courtney. Jeffries. Craig. Jeffries. Crane. Johnson. Crink. Johnson. Crawford. Johnson. Crenshaw. Johnson. Crockett. Jeffries. Crow. Jeffries. Cuellar. Jeffries. Davids of Kansas. Jeffries. Davidson. Johnson. Davis of Illinois. Jeffries. Davis of North Carolina. Jeffries. Dean of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. DeGette. Jeffries. De la Cruz. Johnson. DeLauro. Jeffries. Del Bene. Jeffries. DeLuzio. Jeffries. DeSaulnier. Jeffries. Desjardins. Johnson. Dexter. Jeffries. Diaz-Balart. Johnson. Dingle. Jeffries. Doggett. Jeffries. Donalds. Johnson. Downing. Johnson. Dunn of Florida. Johnson. Edwards. Johnson. Elfreth. Jeffries. LZ. Johnson. Emmer. Johnson. Escobar. Jeffries. Espaillat. Jeffries. Estes. Johnson. Evans of Colorado. Johnson. Evans of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Ezell. Johnson. Fallon. Johnson. Fedorchak. Johnson. Feenstra. Johnson. Fields. Jeffries. Figures. Jeffries. Finstad. Johnson. Fishbach. Johnson. Fitzgerald. Johnson. Fitzpatrick. Johnson. Fleischman. Johnson. Fletcher. Jeffries. Flood. Johnson. Fung. Johnson. Foster. Jeffries. Fushi. Jeffries. Fox. Johnson. Lois Frankel. Jeffries. Scott Franklin. Johnson. Friedman. Jeffries. Frost. Jeffries. Fry. Johnson. Fulcher. Johnson. Garamendi. Jeffries. Garbarino. Johnson. Garcia of California. Jeffries. Garcia of Illinois. Jeffries. Garcia of Texas. Jeffries. Gill of Texas. Johnson. Gillen.
Hakeem
Jeffries. Jimenez. Johnson. Golden of Maine. Jeffries. Goldman of New York. Jeffries. Goldman of Texas. Johnson. Gomez. Jeffries. Tony Gonzalez. Johnson. Vicente Gonzalez. Jeffries. Gooden. Johnson. Goodlander. Jeffries. Gosar. Gosar. Gottheimer. Jeffries. Graves. Johnson. Gray. Jeffries. Green of Tennessee. Johnson. Green of Texas.
The gentleman may respond by surname.
Green of Texas. Jeffries. Green of Georgia. Johnson. Griffith. Johnson. Grijalva. Jeffries. Grothman. Johnson. Guest. Johnson. Guthrie. Johnson. Hageman. Johnson. Hamadeh of Arizona. Johnson. Harder of California. Jeffries. Herodopoulos. Johnson. Harrigan. Johnson. Harris of Maryland. Harris of Maryland. Harris of North Carolina. Johnson. Harshbarger. Johnson. Hayes. Jeffries. Hearn of Oklahoma. Johnson. Higgins of Louisiana. Johnson. Hill of Arkansas. Johnson. Himes. Jeffries. Henson. Johnson. Horsford. Jeffries. Houchin. Johnson. Houlihan. Jeffries. Hoyer. Jeffries. Hoyle of Oregon. Jeffries. Hudson. Johnson. Huffman. Jeffries. Huizinga. Johnson. Hunt. Johnson. Hurd of Colorado. Johnson. Isa. Johnson. Ivy. Jeffries. Jack. Johnson. Jackson of Illinois. Jeffries. Jackson of Texas. Johnson. Jacobs. Jeffries. James. Johnson. Jayapal. Jeffries. 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 Johnson of Georgia. Jeffries. Johnson of Louisiana. Johnson. Johnson of South Dakota. Johnson. Johnson of Texas. Jeffries. Jordan. Johnson. Joyce of Ohio. Johnson. Joyce of Pennsylvania. Johnson. Kim Lager-Dove. Jeffries. Captor. Jeffries. Kane. Johnson. Keating. Jeffries. Kelly of Illinois. Jeffries. Kelly of Mississippi. Johnson. Kelly of Pennsylvania. Johnson. Kennedy of New York. Jeffries. Kennedy of Utah. Johnson. Kana.
Hakeem, Jeffries.
Jeffries. Kiggins of Virginia. Johnson. Kiley of California. Johnson. Kim. Johnson. Not. Johnson. Krishnamurthy. Jeffries. Kustoff. Johnson. LaHood. Johnson. LaLota. Johnson. LaMalfa. Johnson. Landsman. Jeffries. Langworthy. Johnson. Larson of Washington. Jeffries. Larson of Connecticut. Jeffries. Latimer. Jeffries. Latta. Johnson. Lawler.
The Honorable Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Lee of Florida. Johnson. Lee of Nevada. Jeffries. Lee of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Ledger Fernandez. Jeffries. Letlow. Johnson. Levin. Jeffries. Licardo. Jeffries. Liu. Jeffries. Lofgren. Jeffries. Loudermilk. Johnson. Lucas. Johnson. Luna. Johnson. Luttrell. Johnson. Lynch. Jeffries. Mace. Johnson. McKenzie. Johnson. Magaziner. Jeffries. Maliotakis. Johnson. Malloy. Johnson. Mann. Johnson. Mannion. Jeffries. Massey. Emmer. Mast. Johnson. Matsui. Jeffries. McBath. Jeffries. McBride. Jeffries. McCall. Johnson. McLean. Johnson. McLean Delaney. Jeffries. McClellan. Jeffries. McClintock. Johnson. McCullum. Jeffries. McCormick. Johnson. McDonald Rivet. Jeffries. McDowell. Johnson. McGarvey. Jeffries. McGovern. Jeffries. McGuire. Johnson. McIver. Jeffries. Meeks. Jeffries. Menendez. Jeffries. Mang. Jeffries. Messmer. Johnson. Muser. Johnson. Mfume. Jeffries. Miller of Illinois. Johnson. Miller of Ohio. Johnson. Miller of West Virginia. Johnson. Miller Meeks. Johnson. Mills. Johnson. Min. Jeffries. Molinar. Johnson. Moore of Alabama. Johnson. Moore of North Carolina. Johnson. Moore of Utah. Johnson. Moore of Wisconsin. Jeffries. Moore of West Virginia. Johnson. Moran. Johnson. Morelli. Jeffries. Morrison. Jeffries. Moskowitz. Moskowitz. Jeffries. Moulton. Jeffries. Mervan. Jeffries. Mullen. Jeffries. Murphy. Johnson. Nadler. Jeffries. Neal. Jeffries. Nagoose. Jeffries. Nails. Johnson. Newhouse. Johnson. Norcross. Jeffries. Norman. Jordan. None of Iowa. Johnson. Obernolte. Johnson. Ocasio-Cortez. Jeffries. Ogles. Johnson. Olszewski. Jeffries. Omar. Jeffries. Onder. Johnson. Owens. Johnson. Pallone. Jeffries. Palmer. Palmer. Johnson. Panetta. Jeffries. Pappas. Jeffries. Pelosi. Jeffries. Perez. Jeffries. Perry. Johnson. Peters. Jeffries. Pedersen. Jeffries. Pfluger. Johnson. Pingree. Jeffries. Pocan. Jeffries. Poe. Jeffries. Presley. Presley. Jeffries. Quigley. Jeffries. Ramirez. Jeffries. Randall. Jeffries. Raskin. Jeffries. Reschenthaler. Johnson. Riley of New York. Jeffries. Rivas. Jeffries. Rogers of Alabama. Johnson. Rogers of Kentucky. Johnson. Rose. Johnson. Ross. Jeffries. Rouser. Johnson. Roy. Roy. Ruiz. Jeffries. Ruley. Johnson. Rutherford. Johnson. Ryan. Jeffries. Salazar. Johnson. Salinas. Jeffries. Sanchez. Sanchez. Jeffries. Scalise. Johnson. Scanlon. Jeffries. Schakowsky. Jeffries. Schmidt. Johnson. Schneider. Jeffries. Skolton. Jeffries. Schreier. Jeffries. Schweikert. Johnson. Austin Scott. Johnson. David Scott. Jeffries. Scott of Virginia. Jeffries. Self. Donalds. Sessions. Johnson. Sewell. Jeffries. Sherman. Jeffries. Sherrill. Jeffries. Shreve. Johnson. Simon. Simon. Jeffries. Simpson. Simpson. Johnson. Smith of Missouri. Johnson. Smith of Nebraska. Johnson. Smith of New Jersey. Johnson. Smith of Washington. Jeffries. Smucker. Johnson. Sorensen. Jeffries. Soto. Jeffries. Sparts. Sparts. Johnson. Stansbury. Jeffries. Stanton. Jeffries. Stauber. Johnson. Stefanik. Johnson. Style. Johnson. Stubbe. Johnson. Stevens. Jeffries. Strickland. Jeffries. Strong. Johnson. Stutzman. Johnson. Subramaniam. Jeffries. Suazi. Jeffries. Swalwell. Jeffries. Sykes. Jeffries. Takano. Jeffries. Taylor. Johnson. Tenney. Johnson.